A very pleasant good afternoon as we welcome you into a Thursday edition of the Lion Country Kia Goon and Ironhead Show. We are at Quaker Steak and Lube, the place to be. Well, really anytime, but especially on Tuesdays and Thursdays from 3 to 5. Uh, we love being here, and you can come on down and join us. Have a good old time while eating some great grub, downing some tasty beverages, and catching up with friends new and old alike. We thank Quaker Steak and Lube. We also thank Lion Country Kia, Sioka Motors, and
Come on,
help me out.
Timberland. Come on, baby.
I got to get it written down. We got to get their logo up.
Timberland
Federal Credit Union.
By the way, they were fantastic with me, by the way.
Yeah.
I needed some work done a couple months ago. They took care of the kid real good.
Awesome.
Real nice.
Yeah, we are very, very happy to have all of our sponsors on board and happy to have you along on this Thursday afternoon. There really is a lot to get into today. Certainly Penn State football. The old no news is good news, Goon, and it's been a pretty quiet spring in terms of James Franklin is talking a lot. I mean, I don't mean quiet in terms of you can't get any information out, but all of the information is just kind of, we're making progress. This guy's looking good. That guy's fitting in well here, like that type of stuff. Not any off-field news, which is good. I think overall it sounds and seems like things are progressing nicely for this team. I think, the transfers certainly were at needed areas for the team, and I think are fitting in well from, again, everything it sounds like, both from a football aspect and also certainly from a culture standpoint. And I do think that is a big deal for this Penn State program is having guys that are all in. And one of the ways you can tell whether the guys are all in, Goon, and I think this is probably a really good indication of what James Franklin has going here at Penn State right now. And that is with the transfer portal, you're getting guys, some key guys coming in, but much more importantly, as importantly anyway, is the kids at Penn State are losing to the transfer portal with very, very few exceptions. Yes. I mean, like extremely rare exceptions. They're guys that just want more playing time. And it's like, well, that's
not going to happen.
You get it, right. They're just not working their way up the depth chart.
Well,
it's not guys that are disgruntled or unhappy or don't see a chance to win here. Like, you're not getting guys that have regular playing time here leaving. And really, you're not having a lot of the guys that aren't getting a lot of playing time here leaving. But again, the ones that are leaving, I think pretty much across the board has been, I just want a little more playing time and just not going to be able to work my way up the depth chart the way I want to here.
Well, we're talking about a second, third team guys who have played sporadically the last few years, and it's their time, and it's like, hey, it's not going to happen here. The writing's on the wall.
Yeah.
And, I mean, a lot of people, my era, would just suck it up and get through it, and just say, hey, I'm not going to be that star player. I'm not going to be there. But I mean, people, if they had the opportunity, I think about that all the time. I think about all the time, like guys who on my team who really didn't make it, star while they were here. Would they have transferred in those 5 years that we were all here together, type of thing? Because it is a different world. And the guys that we're losing, and I would love, I mean, we always constantly said, we would research that, and we never research anything, Jeff. But I would like to know the amount of transfer portal guys that are actually meaningful, like star player type of guys. Because it just seems to be backups and stuff like that who are just looking for an opportunity to go somewhere else and play. It is what it is. Everybody wants an opportunity to play, so the opportunities are there to go elsewhere. You have to realize that we're also, I believe, 8 scholarships over the 85 limit.
Well,
So there
yes,
is work
and
to do for us before the summer session starts.
that is very
that
true.
I don't know if we go out and get somebody, we're still going to have to drop 8 guys off a scholarship, a.k.a. hey, it's not working here. You need to move on in the transfer portal.
Yeah.
And that's the other thing. Are they being asked or forced into the portal? I don't know. And this is
Yeah, I mean, I don't
more questions than I show than anything, Jeff.
Well, I don't think I don't think Penn State's forcing anybody in, but I'm sure there are conversations. It's like, listen, this isn't working for you here, and one of the things that James Franklin, I think, I think he gets an unfair amount of criticism locally, but one of the things that I really do think he has done a masterful job of is creating relationships all throughout football, college football, high school football, even the NFL. And so my guess, and that this part I don't know, but I mean, I don't think it's much of a stretch. My guess is James does go to some of these guys and it's like, listen, we committed to you. If you want to stay here, fine. But I can reach out to some schools for you. I know this coach, that coach. Like, I think this would be a good fit for you, right? And I'm guessing he does that. It's not just, hey, get out of here. You're not getting a scholarship. Again, I don't know that, but that stuff.
I don't know if we've gotten to that point yet.
What's that?
And that is that historically, and even until now, your scholarship's only a 1-year guarantee.
Correct.
You are not guaranteed a scholarship for 4 or 5 years while you're here. You have to earn it each year and be invited back. Now, Joe had a thing where if Joe, gave you a scholarship, you could count on that for 4 years. Now, are we to the point now where it's like, hey, we're going to start pulling scholarships? I don't think we are. But, I mean, there are other schools that definitely do that.
Yeah.
I mean, I have not heard any of those things from Penn State's camp, as in like them telling people like, hey, you don't have a scholarship or pulling scholarships away. But I don't know how they got to drop 8 to 10 scholarship guys here in the next month or so.
Yeah.
That's a big move there. That's 10% of your guys on your team. You got to tell them to move on or lose their scholarship. And again, I don't know if they're being told like, hey, your scholarship is not being renewed, or hey, you're not on scholarship.
Well, I mean, at some point,
historically, you got 4 years.
It's kind of like,
so if you're like a 5th-year guy in that window, it's not uncommon for them to say, hey, you've used your time up here.
Yeah, at some point, it's kind of like the being on the airline, and it's like, hey, we'll offer you this to to give up your seat. And at some point, it's like, all right, well, randomly now, like somebody's not getting on the plane, and we know you're going to be unhappy. I mean, at some point, if nobody is willingly leaving or giving up the scholarship, yeah, I mean, they've got to, because you have to.
Yeah.
But my guess is that they work diligently to try to work out amicable situations for.
Remember
for
the old
folks
stories
that
about Bobby
makes
Bowden?
sense for them.
With Bobby Bowden in Alabama when Bobby was coaching Samford down in Alabama.
Yeah.
Did you ever hear those stories? When he would go to Alabama spring camp or Alabama spring practice, and Barrett Bryan would like, hey, coach, what do you need? He's like, I need a quarterback, an outside linebacker, a corner, and this and that. He'd be like, I got 2 over there, I got 3 over there, 4. And this is when it was unlimited scholarships and stuff. So he said it was the best shopping he ever had to do in his life. It was the easiest shopping he ever had to do.
Yeah. So, yeah, again, no news, good news, I think, from the Penn State spring practice front. Greetings, dear horse. He's checking in from after school detention. He's not in, well, I guess he's in detention, but I mean, he's not in trouble. He's one of the teachers there. And, oh boy, devastating news. There'll be people jumping off the cliffs here. Oh, do you not know about the recruiting subculture?
Oh, I get you.
Oh, my God, dude.
But they were predicting Missouri over. They were talking about Zollers, the top recruit kid.
Yeah, Matt.
He just made an announcement at 3 o'clock.
Yeah, Matt Zollers has announced that he's going to Missouri. Yeah, no, there are anytime a top recruit announces, especially in state, recruit announces for another school, there are people that are on the message boards that are absolutely beside themselves.
The world is ending before the lunar eclipse next week.
Oh, yeah.
The articles I read about this Allers kid was, he denied it, but everybody was saying in the background it's definitely going to be an NIL decision. So he was going to the highest bidder. So it doesn't matter what Penn State did, in my opinion. It's just the world we live in now, kids. This is truly the world we live in. That if he,
I mean, I don't know what
I don't blame him.
All
we don't know if that's true or not, but
yeah.
Whether it was, is Missouri the best fit for him? Is Penn State the best fit for him? Or was it a NIL deal where, I was going to go to the highest bidder? And, I don't blame a kid for that, Jeffrey.
Chose Missouri over Penn State and Pitt. And I don't know, depending on who you believe and read, Georgia may have been in on the he definitely visited like Georgia and Alabama, but I've read a couple of different accounts that say it was down to 4, others that say it was down to 3. Penn State, Missouri, and Pitt were all definitely on the final short list there for him, and possibly Georgia was as well, depending again on whom you believe. Zollers generally considered one of the top quarterback prospects in the country, the second best overall prospect in the Keystone State. So, I mean, do you want him? Yes. Would you love to have him here?
Yep.
But as we've talked about many times over the years, the difference between like a number 1 and a number 2 prospect, or even like a number 3 and a 58 prospect, it is negligible. Like, you don't know how any of this stuff is going to translate from high school to college, just like you don't know from college to the NFL. Now, every now and then you get a guy that feels like a can't-miss prospect, and sure enough turns out to be a not-miss prospect, right? But, I mean, how many players have we seen over the years? When Dan Kendra, going way back, I think we talked about this last week, but when Dan Kendra went to Florida State, I mean, there were people that were apoplectic and couldn't believe it, and this is the future, and he ends up switching positions, and is a fine football player, but wasn't, Ron Powlus. I mean, you go back over the years, and then, remember the excitement when Quintus McDonald, McDonald's coming to Penn State, and Floyd Wedderburn.
I'll give you the whole list.
I mean,
my class, number 1 recruiting class in the country, Joe Paterno's greatest, Scott Stratton.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I mean, here's the story. As big as I am right now, that's how big he was at 18, 19 years old.
Maybe even a little bigger.
And about as in shape as I am right now, too.
Yeah, as it turned out.
Yeah, so he was the one. Eric Renke.
Yeah.
He was another one. Now, he's before me recruiting-wise, but then when he was playing here, he would come in the spring when he got out of Joe's doghouse, out of hibernation, we would call it, and he would go out there. He was an inside linebacker, but he ate himself into a D-line position. But I'm going to tell you right now, if that man could have been in shape, woof.
Yeah.
He made some things happen on as a nose guard, a 3 technique was insane. But Stratton, let me think about my time. Stratton was a big one. Antonio Logan L.
Yeah.
From Maryland was the number 1. I think he was probably one of the top 5 recruits in the country, not just
he was
in Maryland.
Yes.
But I remember I was working here at that point, and I remember when there was you want to talk about being mad. He invited the Maryland staff, including Ralph Friedgen's wife, to his announcement. So what does that mean? Oh, he's going to Maryland. He's coming to Maryland. Let's go to Maryland. They get there, and Larry Johnson's there, and the Penn State guys are there, and he chooses Penn State, and they leave him all in a huff. It's like he probably didn't go about that the right way, in my opinion.
Yeah.
But it's it's a different world than when we were used to, obviously, with the whole I'm down to 26 schools. I'm down to 18 schools. I mean, is it just attention? Is it just this or that? I don't know. Different world we live in. But when it comes down to it, it's the same world.
Well, yeah, and at the end of the day, and again, had Penn State gotten Zollers, we'd be on here talking about what a great pickup this is and how big of a deal. So, I'm not going to sit here and tell you that this doesn't hurt Penn State in the moment. But again, my point is, like, if you get him, okay, now you got your quarterback for next year in the fold. You don't get him. It's not like Penn State's sitting around saying, all right, well, we just don't get a quarterback next. Like, they're talking to other guys, and now probably more likely that you can get one of these other guys, and we don't know. And I again, Zollers is very highly heralded. The people in the know think he is, destined to be great at the next level, and he may very well be. But what I'm telling you is you don't actually know that. And we'll see how it plays out. I feel like largely these things go the way ultimately they should go, and Penn State will find somebody, and it may be somebody that's a better fit for what Penn State has, or it may not. And if it doesn't, again, the anymore, most college football programs, well, there's a couple of things here. One, the fact that Zollers has committed today to Missouri does not mean that he will never play for Penn State.
Well, doesn't mean he's
when
Nolan
Rucci
for Missouri either.
Correct.
Right?
When Nolan Rucci went to Wisconsin, there were people that were very upset about how could Penn State. Well, now he's come back home. When Julian Fleming announced for Ohio State, like, it was a big blow. So first of all, to your point, it is a different world, and we don't know that Zollers won't end up at Penn State at some point. Number one, you certainly don't know that he's going to end up having his whole career at Missouri. Right. Quarterbacks in particular, across the board, the transfer portal is nuts. But quarterbacks, it is really nuts.
Odd transfer portal is made for them.
Yes.
Continue on.
No, so all of that is part of the equation. Also, now pretty much every program out there is at least trying to bring in a quarterback a year, in part because of what we just were talking about. You don't know. First of all, you need depth, obviously. You need to be at least 3 deep at quarterback. So trying to get a quarterback a year is a way to try to ensure that. Now, because, again, of the transfer portal and everything else, it doesn't actually ensure that, and you understand that, and that's why the game is constant, the recruiting game I'm talking about. But again, Penn State it's not like they were all in, and this is across the board with any prospect. You don't go, all right, it's this guy or bust. Bust is never the option here if you're running a college football program. So it is, man, we really want you, Zollers. You're our guy. But you're talking to other guys too, right? And saying, man, we watch you. We think we can get some scholarship money, right? Some of it is you're playing the waiting game, and these kids aren't dumb. Like, they're watching what other kids are doing. So now there is that opportunity at Penn State. But it's also a situation where, again, do you really want a quarterback in with this class? For sure. But with Penn State's current quarterback situation, I look at it as, man, it is imperative. If they don't get a quarterback this year, forget it. They are really because, again, they can hit the transfer portal next year if there's a great need. And for one, you have a couple of guys that you feel very good about and a couple of prospects that you feel pretty good about, if they can get the one healthy here.
Yeah, so Carrie had this conversation with me the other day.
Yeah.
She's asking. I don't know why it came up, how it came up. It was, I guess, I have friends and teammates who have people come up and are getting recruited and stuff like that. I have a brother called me last week and said, hey, one of my friends' kids get recruited. So, and Carrie, she was asking me, Carrie being my wife, and she asked me an honest question. She's like, if guys get offered, because she'll go on we'll talk about Twitter and be like, oh, this guy got his 15th scholarship from a Division I school type of thing. They advertise it. And she's like, what if everybody just accepts the scholarships? And I said, that's not going to happen because, okay, you take Zollers, and I'm just going to do this in like just a very bare buttons. They have 8, I guarantee you, they probably have 8 scholarship offers out the quarterbacks. And now get to the point now where the pressure will be on number 2 to go after number 2, the guy that they think, they had their eyes on Zollers as their number 1 guy. Okay, it didn't happen. Okay, we got to get on 2 and 3 right now. And when you get down to 2 or 3, and you might get into the 4, and you might be saying, hey, it's first come, first serve.
Well, so let me just throw in a caveat there. We are presuming that Zollers is their number 1 guy.
Yeah.
Now, again, am I sitting here telling you that if Zollers had chosen Penn State would have been like, actually, we're going to – no.
Yeah.
No. But there may be somebody else that they're talking to that they are equally high on. Again, so we're clear. Yes, they wanted Zollers. It is a bummer in the moment that they didn't get him. Again, Penn State would be heralding and celebrating if Zollers had announced today for Penn State. If you're just joining us, Matt Zollers today does announce that he is going to Missouri to play college football, and he is one of the top quarterback prospects in the country. And one of the top 2 prospects as a football player in Pennsylvania. So, big name, big talent, and Penn State is losing him to Missouri. The other thing, and I mean, I've been talking about this for 30 plus years, however long I've been on the air. It always cracks me up when fans, it's like, oh, you can't let this happen if you're Penn State. And I mean, time and time again, I have heard that, whether it's you just can't. That's a commit you have to get. Just so we're clear, like, no football program, no coach can force a kid to come to his school. Well, yeah, but you got to make it. Listen, and even more so today, you're right, Goon, with NIL stuff. And you don't know what's driving Zollers. It could very well be that Penn State did everything right. And he's like, yeah, I love Penn State, but man, Missouri just feels like a better fit. It could be they offered more money. It could be that he just feels like he fits in better with that system. It could be a whole bunch of things. And it's like, I just love it when, you can't let him get away. Yeah, you can, because you don't have any choice.
These are the same people who were saying we should just pay him what he wants.
Well, and in football in particular, and the other and kind of final point for the people that are ready to jump off the ledge is in football, especially, like that one player, hit or miss, get or lose, the one player is not what's making or breaking your program. And I don't care. You take the best player in the history of college football. If you don't surround him with other good talent, like, that guy is not single-handedly turning your program around. Now, certainly on the recruiting front, if you get a guy like that, can others follow? And have we seen that at Penn State? Of course, absolutely. You get that star quarterback, and you see star receivers, linemen, the whole bit. That can happen. So again, while not trying to downplay this too much, it really, in the overall scheme of things, it is not a big deal because, again, now Penn State goes out and goes after whoever the next couple of next best prospects in their mind. And again, that's presuming that they believed this was their best prospect at quarterback out there. And we don't know that. Correct.
And they have one in each class. So if they miss a year, wow, you might.
Well, that's what I'm saying. So that's
it's all.
Yeah.
The doom and gloom. You're right. The doom and gloomers are the one that drive me absolutely crazy, because if we can not get off the point, but I'll keep on hammering it. But Jeff Harding's, his recruiting was, he was a 2-star.
Yes.
He weighed 240 the number of kids from St. Henry, Ohio. Nobody wanted him. He was a heck of a player, but when he got here, it was like, okay, he's an unbelievable player. But then you have Stratton from the same state, but from a bigger area, who was known as the number one mauler in the country and this and that. Harding's is a 3-time All Big Ten, 2-time All-American.
Yes. And you can go down the long list of guys. I mean, yes. Shane Conlin,
last guy on the scholarship.
Guys, yes, that
I was a legacy. That one wanted me. I just threw it out there because my brother went here. I know how it was, Ironhead. Jeez Louise.
So, anyways,
I've
again,
always hated the recruiting doomers and gloomers. I know Booch likes to talk about it with Horn and Mailman and stuff. I don't like getting into the recruiting thing because it's like Joe used to say, your kid's potential is going to get me fired. Talking to high school coaches. And it's about potential. It's about potential. It's like, what are you valued at it in a business today? I mean, what is the valuation? Is there anything concrete, hardcore? Is there evidence behind it? No, it's all hearsay and futures and type of things. So recruiting will always be recruiting. You will always have hits and misses. And
always.
I do actually want to talk to you about, Kale is at the top of the mountain right now. Does he have to pound the pavement? Is that something we want to talk about?
He does. Well, no, he it's fine to talk about. He does pound the pavement, whether or not he needs to. I mean, listen, yes, at this point now with what Penn State has built up and Kale and his staff have built up and established. Truthfully, yes, at this point, more often than not, much more often than not, the top guys. I'm not going to get into the details, but there was a top recruit that was kind of presumed to be going somewhere else. This is years ago.
Yep.
That was presumed to be going somewhere else. That his family called Kale, and it's like, what's up? Like we're one of the top prospects in the country, and we never hear from you. And Kale's like, well, to be honest with you, it seems like it's a foregone conclusion that your son's going where it looks like he's going. And like, I don't want to waste our time or your time.
Sure.
Like, obviously we recognize that he's a great talent. He's like, well, no, we would be interested now. And they did meet, and the kid did end up going where folks thought he was going to go.
Yep.
And which is fine. And again, how genuine whether they just wanted to be courted and, see it. Who knows? I think they were genuine, and I mean, I think they did spend some time contemplating whether or not, which place would be better. But again, Kale does not want to spend time with you unless they think there is genuine mutual interest, and obviously it would be beneficial for both parties. I mean, Kale doesn't want to bring you in if he thinks, and I don't know exactly how this would play out, but where it's like, hey, we're going to benefit from having you here, but it's only going to. I'm saying that, and I don't know how that would actually play out. But I mean, I think the idea is you want a kid who feels like, yep, this is a good fit, and Penn State feels like this is a good fit, both athletically and culturally. And so Penn State at this point, while Kale does, and the other coaches for sure, I mean, they are out there, they do pound the pavement and they are looking. But yes, are the elite kids and their families contacting them and saying, hey, man, we'd love to. Yes, that is.
I'll tell you a story.
That happens regularly.
This happened when I was coaching here with a certain Pitt running back who went on to star in the NFL with the Philadelphia Eagles.
Yeah,
from the Harrisburg area.
Yeah,
I don't know if you ever heard me tell this story, but he came up on his recruiting visit when he was in his 13th grade, and he was all about going to Penn State and stuff like that. And Joe wanted to see how he would mesh with the guys. Let me tell you right now, he didn't mesh with the guys. He did not mesh with the guys at all.
This sounds like a shady story.
Yeah, very, very, rather shady. So there was two guys on the team at that point. They were two of our captains, one is Michael Robinson and Alan Zamitis. All right, they were both done. They were done They were done playing. They were both training for the NFL, and they hosted him on his recruiting visit during spring football. And the man was so arrogant and annoying. In other words, they were playing football, and he kept on talking down about Michael, talking about Texas and Vince Young, to the point where Zamitis literally looked at him and said, listen, Mike ain't going to beat your ass. I'm going to beat your ass. And that was a true story.
Yeah.
And the next day, the old man was like, hey, how did the recruiting visit go? And they were like, hey, Coach, he's not one of us.
Yeah.
And he pulled his scholarship then and there. That's why we didn't go after LaShawn McCoy. So there are times when it's just not going to be a good mix. And I loved and respected the old man for that because he knew he didn't want that headache. And it would be a headache for the 3 or 4 years that he was here.
Yeah.
And that would be in and out of trouble and, being arrogant and being this and that and not being, Joe liked to have his control of players, but he also liked his players in control. And Joe said, you know what? We're not going to offer you. And that's the number one recruit in the country out of Pennsylvania. And people were flipping lids over that. People were going crazy about it, but it was like, it just wasn't a fit. It would not have worked. It would have never worked. I don't think LaShawn McCoy would have had the career he did, because I think he'd been in the doghouse here, a.k.a. Austin Scott. You know what I mean? Austin was in and out of trouble here, but he was never really – he just did enough to stay on the team, but and enough to be in trouble all the time. It was crazy because he was so freaking talented, and it just didn't work out. And I think that the old man saw that coming down the road with Shady, and I think he just pulled the – and again, it goes back to like some people who live and die by the recruiting thing. It's like, it's okay. There are still hundreds and thousands of kids out there who are, the difference between 1 and 2 and a quarterback. What's the difference? What is it? He can make a throw. The other guy can't make it. It's 1 more inch, 1 more second. Who knows? But let's not lose our heads over freaking recruiting, man. Please don't. That's the craziest thing to even think about.
Sage advice. We'll take a break here, and when we come back, we'll talk about the drought conditions here in the Valley of Happiness and much more as we continue our Thursday edition. It is the Lion Country Kia Goon and Ironhead show here on Sports Radio 98.7, The Fox, as we head to break now.
Coast into fall with a new Kia from Lion Country Kia. Right now, get a 24 Kia Seltos for 5.25% APR for up to 48 months. A new Sportage plug-in hybrid at 0.9% APR. Check out our 23 Sorrento hybrid for as low as 4.5% APR. And don't forget, all 2023 and 2024 Kias come with a 10-year, 100,000-mile limited warranty. Stop in and meet with one of our sales experts today and coast into fall at Lion Country Kia. We want to see you in a Kia.
Since retiring, I have spent my time searching the countryside for the hottest wings in America. I always seem to end up disappointed. You call these hot? Back off, Luigi.
Mamma mia.
Look, hands it, busboy. Your wings suck! I knew I should have stuck with Quaker Steak's triple atomic wings. You think I'm tough enough?
The Center Hall Farm Store has been serving Center County and beyond for well over a half century. A small family business, the Center Hall Farm Store specializes in animal nutrition and manufactures its feed fresh using local ingredients. Get the best in horse, cow, pig, chicken, and bird feeds. If you're not already a customer, stop in and see why so many of your neighbors are. The Center Hall Farm Store at 110 West Allison Street in Center Hall, or call us at 814-364-1393.
Sioka Toyota of Williamsport invites you to stop in today or check us out online. We have the smart path to your next Toyota, like the all-new Crown, BZ4X, the all-new Grand Highlander, Corolla Cross Hybrids, Sequoias, and more. Over 100 new Toyotas here and on the way. Don't make a $1,000 mistake. Choose Sioka Toyota of Williamsport and see the Sioka dealership's difference. Buy or reserve yours today and see for yourself why Sioka Toyota is the only stop you need for your next new car. Sioka Toyota, it just feels right.
Ready to be part of something bigger? Come pave the road to success at Glen O'Haw-Baker and discover a career where your hard work and determination can build a bigger, better future. Our team believes we can build a stronger future together. Join us at Glen O'Haw-Baker, where we value teamwork on the field and on the job. Go to GOHcareers.com to apply. GOHcareers.com. And best of luck to all the Center County sports teams all season long from everyone at Glen O'Haw-Baker.
With a Timber Kids savings account, you can start to save money, earn prizes, and teach your kids the value of savings. It's easy as 1, 2, 3. Building futures is what we do at TFCU.
You really need to belong to a credit union. You belong at TFCU, Timberland Federal Credit Union, a credit union you can grow with.
The Goon
Lion Country Kia Goon and Ironhead show here at Quaker Steak and Lube on a Thursday afternoon. And yeah, a little bit of rain this week here in Happy Valley.
Everywhere.
The dream of an undefeated season for the Pirates by the boards, but the dream of the Penguins making the playoffs alive, at least heading into tonight. An absolutely crucial for the Penguins tonight, as again they'll take on the Capitals in Washington. And
that's weird. It's coming in and out, buddy. Yeah, I mean, I can hear me. I do not hear the Ironhead. I watched the Buccos game a little bit yesterday afternoon, and I saw the Penguins were actually there in Washington. They're in town to play the Capitals tonight, so the Pens were actually at the Buccos game yesterday, so it was pretty cool. And they were like saying, "Hey, you never get to see that." Is that better?
I don't know. No, it is not.
Oh Lord, Ironhead. They've cut Ironhead's cord. It's over. Everybody's American nightmare has begun. No Ironhead. So we got, you got all these people walking around here, all these Bucko gear right now. They must be on a winning streak right now. God bless them. I heard that. I can hear that. Everything on there was just very, very loud and craziness. So, want to replace? All right. So here we are. The head. Ooh. Headley Lamar. Let's see if this works for us, boys and girls. I think we're all off. I don't even think I'm even on the air right now.
All right. Let's see if that helps.
Jeffrey.
It does. So
I've missed
we'll
you
have to
so
see
much, sir.
What's going on, although the levels are still not great there.
Really?
As
soon as that one pulled
out,
it went for me.
Yeah, the Penguins and Capitals again tonight, and the beloved Pirates will take on the Capitals one more, or the Nationals one more time here this afternoon. Yep, and a game that starts just under a half hour from now. This idea of the Super League is interesting, and I'll be curious. I know the powers that be have no interest apparently in discussing this at the moment, and the Athletic has a story out on this Super League idea that is being promoted by a group that got together and I think they're overstating it. They say they're trying to find ways to save college football, and their idea is to create 70 teams that would come from the Power 5 conferences that currently exist. You'd have 70 teams. 7 leagues,
10-team division.
Yep, 7 divisions of 10 teams, and then an 8th division that would have teams that would float, like the Premier Soccer League.
Relegation.
You could either play yourself into or out of those final 10 spots, so that it would fluctuate from year to year. The other 10 teams that would be in what we'll call big time college football and have the opportunity to compete for national championships. To me, this seems like a very viable proposal in terms of there's a couple of things that I think it does a great job of addressing. One is getting back to more, as we've been talking about, one way or another, they are going to have to get back to regional play. That it is not sustainable and not realistic to move forward with, a Big Ten that has USC and Penn State in it, and Rutgers and Maryland. Like it doesn't make sense on a number of different fronts, including financial.
But we could do that football-wise. It's stupid otherwise, other sport-wise. Football is one day a week.
Well, I don't know if other sport-wise is, that's the other part of this. So this is a football proposal.
Yes.
This isn't hey, let's solve all of college sports proposal. This is
saw the article.
Football.
I was very impressed by it. It's a lot of what we have talked about. But I'm just going to have questions as you go on. So we're talking about, 7, 10-team division. So how many games are we being played? How many are at home? How many are away? So you figure, you play another conference. You play your 9 teams. Then you got to play 5 from the other divisions. That's 14 games. So we should have 7 home games, 7 away games. There's no complaining then. We can't complain that we don't have enough home games every year. We willed 7 games. But I love my aspect of that story that we talked about a month ago, and that was the 55. There's 135 teams balling.
Yep.
70 get invited, and there's 80. So then there's 55 teams left. There's 45 to 55 teams left over.
Yep.
But then you can't do, if you're going to relegate, the top teams in and the bottom teams are out. You can't do that with what we're talking about, and that would be that I would say that the lesser tier 2. So if we call the Super Conference tier 1, and then the guys in the 50, they're tier 2. Like we talked about, I had made that mention a month ago about have them play in the spring. Precedents have been set in the springtime. They've already done it in the spring during COVID. So teams can play in the spring. They are not competing with the NFL and tier 1 football. They can make their own TV deal. That takes the relegation aspect out of it, which some people are all hung up on. Like it's a great thing. I don't think it's all that great of a thing, but it just gives them an opportunity to make more money and keep the structure of what we have here right now. So go ahead.
Yeah, well, no, there's a bunch of moving parts to this, and as we've talked about, there's just so many different aspects that have to be figured out moving forward with college football. One of the things, like I love the idea, and I think it is viable, and I think it's a neat idea and all of it. But with the transfer portal the way it is, right? If your team gets relegated out,
yeah, see, I don't like the
like how many of those players are then like, oh no, all right, we're out, I'm out.
Yeah, you're right.
And you're going to other schools. I'm not exactly sure what the answer is. I don't know that anybody knows, but some of this I do think is going to be addressed with the collective bargaining that, again, to me is now inevitable, that is coming to college football. But we got into a discussion, and you'll hear similar talk on the Keystone Sports Network tomorrow with Jim Galati and I, because we recorded our show today. But the way, and we got into a discussion off air, and I'll share kind of some of my thoughts on air. In theory, I like the idea. I really do. Of, hey, let's just do football and basketball as what we think of as big time college athletics. Everything else can go back to being an extracurricular activity at your school. And if some other schools in the area want to get together and play some games in your various sports, cool. And again, in theory, I can kind of, I would support that. It's like, well, yeah, college should be about, school and furthering your education. And yeah, if you have an opportunity, you like some sports, do that. If you have an opportunity and you like music, get in a band, get in the choir. If you, have a hobby that you like doing and you want to do some fly fishing, man, awesome. Do that while you're in college. Like, explore all of that. But to have, I mean, the way it is now, and again, I love it. So call me a hypocrite, whatever. Like I love
what
the system we have now, because I love seeing big time college athletics in non-football and basketball sports. But again, can I make the argument that, yeah, that's not, you shouldn't be going to college because you know how to wrestle or you know how to play baseball. And there are folks that are, make no mistake, the reason they are in college is because they wrestle or play lacrosse or right down the long list of sports, all of the collegiate varsity sports that are offered. There are students there that are there only because, man, those teams, yep, you're a great lacrosse player. I'm the lacrosse coach.
Great.
We'll figure out how to keep you eligible. We'll get the tutors, but you don't belong. Like, that person never felt like they belonged in college. Like, yeah, but I'm glad I'm part of the team. So
that's me, Jeff.
Theoretically, I can get behind this.
That's me. I mean, that was me in high school.
I
wouldn't have gone. I
it's a lot of people. I mean, it really is. I don't know. I mean, I don't know whether it's the majority or whatever. But it's a lot. Like, there are a lot of folks that, and again, I can argue and would argue theoretically, like the principles behind it. I'm like, well, yeah, no, college shouldn't be. You shouldn't be, and parents shouldn't be driven by. Yes, I need you, my kiddo, to get an athletic scholarship so that you can go to college. Like, but there are a lot of families that are driven by that. That I would argue that really shouldn't be the case.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, one of the things that is very uncertain right now is, how this shakes out. And now I can't remember some of this stuff, what Jim and I talked about on air and off air, but we were talking about, I know on air, the Harvard situation and the labor union's position is, well, if you are requiring, time be put in by the student athletes, like it doesn't matter whether you're making money. That is a job and you need to pay those individuals. Well, again, and not to get into the political part of this, although it's inevitable, but when you look at, there are a number of people that are in minimum wage jobs in California that are at first were like, oh yes, $20 minimum wage passed, awesome, and then they go into work and it's like, yeah, you don't have a job here anymore. We can't pay $20 an hour. So, oh, well, crap. I thought I was going to get $20 an hour. Nope, you're out of work. Well, how many of these athletes that are going to initially celebrate, hey, yes, we're going to get paid, when the schools say, yeah, no, you're not, because you don't have a job here. So not only are you not going to get paid, you're not getting the scholarship that you used to get. Like, it's just not. Now, the Ivies, I think, would be the first to say, yeah, we don't need athletic programs. That's not our identity.
Now, see, me and you different on this. We talked about it last week, and that was, I think that schools that don't, I don't want to take relegation out of it. I do want to take it out of it. I don't like talking about that. So if you have our 80-team conferences, 8-10 teams, if we want to stay with the 70, that's fine. Whatever number we come up with, I get it, I'm cool with, but it's like, the other 55, I think the NCAA can still monitor them, and there still could be an NCAA.
Well,
if the NCAA is running,
so this is what I
would
think.
Have wrestling? Do you think the NCAA will get out of collegiate athletics completely?
I don't know that they won't be forced to, because this is what I'm saying is, again, if you go back and read what happened with that Dartmouth case.
Okay.
Again, they're saying it doesn't matter whether you're making revenue. It doesn't matter whether you are producing revenue. It is that you are requiring the student athletes to devote this amount of time and to do these things to be part of the team. Well, even if you're not offering a scholarship, but especially if you are offering a scholarship, actually. So if you're saying, all right, these 55 teams or whatever it is aren't big time college athletics. My question is, can they say, hey, yeah, we still want to have you play sports, but we don't want to pay you. It's not. Well, then what can you require?
Now,
and
my next,
and if you don't, somebody, if you say, all right, well, nothing's required, but obviously to be part of a sports team. I mean, and this is where, again, I need more clarification on exactly what the courts and the labor unions are saying, because if in fact it's reading the way I think it read with that Dartmouth case, which is, yep, if you're making any requirements on the time of these student athletes, you're saying you have to be at these practices or participate in these games, then you have to pay them. Well, then they're going to go bye-bye is the way that's going to work.
Now,
but then how far does that translate down?
Can they use your scholarship as that pay instead of physical payment?
I don't think so, but I don't know.
I mean, out of state going to Penn State is $55,000.
Yep.
I'm sure
But are schools going to want to do that?
I don't know.
I mean, where are you getting? Right now they're doing it because they're getting the money from the football and in some cases the basketball programs.
If Dartmouth is paying for a scholarship and they're saying you have to pay them because they are working for your school, whether you're making money or not, they are still being there at practice. They're lifting,
I think Dartmouth would say thanks, no thanks. We're not playing basketball.
They could also just say, hey, your scholarship, anything above and beyond your scholarship money, you get $120,000 a year scholarship. That should be pay in itself, I would think.
But I'm saying that the Ivy Leagues in particular, they're not giving athletic scholarships now. They're saying, no, we're not giving you a scholarship, so it's not even a debatable thing. We're good. And I don't know with these other schools what would or wouldn't happen there. Now,
from other schools,
from a club level standpoint,
we could just say MAC because that's the schools we're talking about.
The MAC, Sun Belt,
Yes,
I mean it's the 6 conferences that aren't part of the Power 5
Correct.
Are now Power 4,
and
so it's actually it's the majority of Division I college football programs that we're talking about, and that's just football. And again, what I'm saying is I don't know where this ultimately leaves the non-revenue or Olympic sports. I mean, the model that is currently there, and again, I can make the argument and probably would make the argument, at least theoretically, that it's like, well, yeah, college should not be like, you shouldn't be investing all of this money in any of these other athletic programs. It should be, again, going back to the old days, it's like, yeah, we have basically a club sport, and it's like, yeah, if we have some other schools in Pennsylvania, maybe even traveling to a neighboring state, we can get some businesses to kick in some money to help support us. Let's do that type thing, rather than, all right, we have national recruiting, we're going to getting the best field hockey or softball, or again, pick your sport, swimming and diving, all of the sports. Like right now, they all are recruiting nationally. They're all, again, losing money for their athletic departments, but traveling all over the country, recruiting all over the country. And again, I'm just telling you, I like it as far as it goes. I like watching it, but does it make sense for schools to be doing that? And with the economic crunch that a lot of colleges and athletic departments, but a lot of colleges are facing, and the money that is involved now with football and basketball, and I think the realization now that those folks have about the earnings potential for the players and coaches there, I am genuinely wondering about whether or not this is the end of the Olympic sports, the non-revenue sports, as we know it, in terms of scholarships, in terms of all of the things that are provided to those student athletes, and the big time feel to those events. And that big time feel, by the way, is different for different sports. Like lacrosse for the NCAA championships, great crowds. NCAA wrestling championships, great crowds. Some of these, even championship events, it's not like it's a packed house. Like, the women's basketball, now this year may be different with Caitlin Clark, but generally you're not getting full houses. And even for men's basketball, for the tournament games, right? Like, you're not getting full houses. Now, you're getting a bunch of TV viewers for men's basketball, and this year for women's basketball. But for a lot of these sports, again, it's fairly negligible, both the in-person attendance and the TV ratings and stream. And, hey, is it worth, for colleges that are looking to be big time in football and basketball, it's like, well, but now we're having to spend all this money on these other sports. I just, again, we'll see how this plays out. I really wonder if 5 years from now, some of the people that are celebrating this NIL and, oh yes, man, now we got in on the revenue kick too. Do you? I mean, right at the moment, there's some people that are in on it for sure. I like, that to me is the biggest piece that I think the Big Ten and the SEC are trying to figure out, and the other conferences. But I mean, the Big Ten and the SEC really are trying to figure out, which is, hey, can we come up with a sustainable model that will keep the football, especially the football folks, football and men's basketball folks, happy, and still share the revenue and keep everybody else happy enough that we're not going to hear complaining about, hey, we want more, this isn't enough. Because if it is the, hey, no, we need equal to what they're getting, I'm telling you, that does not end well for the non-revenue in the Olympic sports, because you're not getting what football's getting.
But they never did.
Correct.
I mean, it is what it is. I mean, like I've been saying for, like, the NCAA can still be involved. And the whole thing with the NIL, of players being allowed to go out and make money and then NIL agreements and this and that, which was great, but I will say it for the 1 millionth time. It was the easiest thing to say and do that didn't cost the NCAA, the conferences, or the universities a penny. Doesn't cost them a penny. It was a way for of course the NCAA is going to say yes, because they can still keep their hand in the cookie jar with the NIL. We can still monitor and still control this. That was their way of appeasing, and everybody said, okay, that's fine. We can pay players now. Now it's completely run off the tracks. It's way off the tracks right now with the whole pay for play, giving guys millions of dollars to go and play. And if you give them all the same amount of money, I mean, I know this is where me and you disagree. I think the NCAA could still come in and monitor all the other sports. Now, can the wrestling team go out and get NIL deals? Yes. But the pay for play needs to be monitored. I think there's a place for the NCAA. It's not with men's basketball, and it's not with football. That's going to go away. It's a whole different world. The NCAA, and then again, this is where you and I disagree. And I still think the NCAA can monitor those 50 non-football schools, however many non-basketball schools.
Where are they getting the revenue? You're saying they're going to monitor.
Penn State is still making money. Football,
not on those sports. It's not.
Do you think that Penn State football, when they have a collective bargaining agreement, they're going to take all that money and just put it in the football? I mean, that's honest.
Well, that's what I'm saying. That's what they're trying to figure out right now.
You think that football would just say, that's our $84 million. We're not sharing with anybody anymore. Then the whole university is going to go away then.
Well, no, the university is not going to go away, but the athletic scholarships for the non-revenue sports will, yes. That's what I'm saying. You're going to be monitoring something that doesn't exist if you're the NCAA.
But if Penn State gets a check for $100 million from this football conglomerate, does Penn State football just hoard all that $100,000, $100 million?
Well, no, they're going to have to share it with the players. It's going to be the players, and that's what I'm saying is you're going to have the separation of big time, quote unquote, big time college football, the others in Division I college football, and then the question is if I don't know what and I don't have all of the numbers in front of me. I know there's a lot of money out there, but I don't know that there's enough money to pay whatever the collective bargaining agreement is. I mean, football players are going to want a substantial amount of money.
How much is substantial in your opinion?
And I don't know. Again, that's going to be $100,000. I mean, that's been thrown out.
Each person, right?
Correct.
That's $8.5 million.
And correct. And then that's just for the players. That's per year for the scholarship players. Okay. Now, what I think you're not getting here is that what this Dartmouth case means is that the other student athletes now can also collectively bargain. Okay. And what I'm telling you is that if those groups come to the athletic department and let's say we want half of what the football players are getting, we want a quarter of what the Penn State football players are getting. That is $25,000 per student athlete.
I don't think that's. What basis does the Dartmouth basketball player have to say that he's deserving of half of what a Big Ten football player makes?
Well, they are deserving of pay. So whatever. Again, they are going to bargain for what that pay is, and they may say, "I'm putting in more hours than the football players. Why in the world would I accept less than a quarter of what they're making?" You're putting the same demands of time and effort and commitment on me as you are with the football players, and even more so because I'm playing over the course of 2 semesters. I'm having to schedule my classes around both semesters. I mean, that argument is going to be made. And let's say it's $10,000 per student athlete for the non-revenue sports that's collectively bargained to. Well, that is in addition to the scholarship money. That is in addition to the food that now must be provided. That is in addition to the medical care and the insurance and all of the stuff that is currently. Well, all of these costs are going up. And the football folks aren't going to sit around and say, "Oh yeah, just pay us $100,000 in perpetuity. We're good with that." Like that's again, I don't know how long these agreements are going to be for, but every time it comes around, it's going to be all right. We want more. We want more health care. We want more this and that. And what I'm telling you is, at some point there is a breaking point here, and I think we're probably pretty much there, where the schools say, "You know what? Yes, football is bringing us in revenue, and that's what's giving us stature nationally. And yes, we love our volleyball program. We love our swimming and diving. Our golf program has had success. That's really cool. And sorry, but you guys are also collectively bargaining, and we're done." I at some point, it's just not sustainable with the money that's there. Is my firm belief. We'll take a break here. We will be back with much more conversation in the 4 o'clock hour. Outside chance that will be on Sports Radio 98.7 The Fox in the 4 o'clock hour as well, as we continue with our Thursday edition here from Quaker Steak and Lube, the place to be on Tuesdays and Thursdays. We're here from 3 to 5. And again, we are coming right back with our number 2.
Coast into fall with a new Kia from Lion Country Kia. Right now, get a 24 Kia Seltos for 5.25% APR for up to 48 months. A new Sportage plug-in hybrid at 0.9% APR. Check out our 23 Sorrento hybrid for as low as 4.5% APR. And don't forget, all 2023 and 2024 Kias come with a 10-year, 100,000-mile limited warranty. Stop in and meet with one of our sales experts today and coast into fall at Lion Country Kia. We want to see you in a Kia.
Since retiring, I have spent my time searching the countryside for the hottest wings in America. I always seem to end up disappointed. You call these hot? Back off, Luigi.
Mamma mia.
Look, handsy busboy. Your wings suck. I knew I should have stuck with Quaker Steak's triple atomic wings. You think I'm tough enough?
The Center Hall Farm Store has been serving Center County and beyond for well over a half century. A small family business, the Center Hall Farm Store specializes in animal nutrition and manufactures its feed fresh using local ingredients. Get the best in horse, cow, pig, chicken, and bird feeds. If you're not already a customer, stop in and see why so many of your neighbors are. The Center Hall Farm Store at 110 West Allison Street in Center Hall, or call us at 814-364-1393.
Sioka Toyota of Williamsport invites you to stop in today or check us out online. We have the smart path to your next Toyota, like the all-new Crown, BZ4X, the all-new Grand Highlander, Corolla Cross Hybrids, Sequoias, and more. Over 100 new Toyotas here and on the way. Don't make a $1,000 mistake. Choose Sioka Toyota of Williamsport and see the Sioka dealership's difference. Buy or reserve yours today and see for yourself why Sioka Toyota is the only stop you need for your next new car. Sioka Toyota, it just feels right.
Ready to be part of something bigger? Come pave the road to success at Glen Baker and discover a career where your hard work and determination can build a bigger, better future. Our team believes we can build a stronger future together. Join us at Glen Baker, where we value teamwork on the field and on the job. Go to GOHcareers.com to apply. GOHcareers.com. And best of luck to all the Center County sports teams all season long from everyone at Glen Baker.
With a Timber Kids savings account, you can start to save money, earn prizes, and teach your kids the value of savings. It's easy as 1, 2, 3. Building futures is what we do at TFCU.
You really need to belong to a credit union. You belong at TFCU, Timberland Federal Credit Union, a credit union you can grow with.
The Goon and Ironhead.
And we welcome you back into the Lion Country Kia Goon and Ironhead show here. Still working to get
Your buckos are delayed, Jeffrey,
what's
by the
going
way.
on. That's a bummer. Not surprising, but that's a bummer. Yeah.
I know we're working on some stuff. So actually, last night there was a rain delay in the Phillies game for 4.5 hours.
Yeah.
And
yeah,
they showed some
one.
old school videos like the '93 Phillies.
Yeah.
And I forgot about this. They played a doubleheader July 4th weekend.
You realize there are young kids out there. Doubleheader. What are you talking about?
They played the San Diego Padres in Philadelphia on July 2nd. They played a doubleheader. And it was one of those that they had to get in because San Diego was not going to come, this and that, It was the end of the series type of thing. They started the second game at 1:24 in the morning. And it ended at 4:45 in the morning. It went to extra innings. And I remember it. I remember watching it. And actually, there was a quote on there that was like,
bonkers.
The bars in Philadelphia closed at 2. And people were like, well, hell, this is on. Let's go down. There was more people in the crowd at the end of the game than when the game started because all the drunks from the bars went down to the stadium to watch the end of that game. I remember it like it was yesterday, and I laughed at the thought of it, but that was very, very true. Because it was July 4th weekend, and I was at home, and if there was somebody sober enough to drive us to the vet, we all would have been there. And no one was at that point sober enough to drive us to the vet. So, yes, fantastic, awesome, fun times watching those things. So, I see. What do the Buccos play? Just old school stuff?
Oh, yeah. All kinds of little clips.
They are
highlights.
good. It is some good stuff watching all those.
Oh, yeah. Yep, always fun times. Yeah, so we'll see what comes, if anything, from the Super Leagues. And again, I'm glad I'm not involved, and I'm glad I'm not the one having to make these decisions and figure this out. I am really curious to see what the Big Ten and the SEC commissioners and again, whatever powers that be in college football and college athletics come up with, because these are nerve-wracking times. to be sure here for intercollegiate athletics. It's exciting times. I know there's a lot of money out there, but how it gets divvied and what all gets agreed to is, to me, going to be the biggest piece of the puzzle right now.
So where you and I differ right now, if I'm putting this all together, and I probably have about 9 different places wrong here. So what do the two money-making sports at Penn State are football and men's basketball?
Correct.
What do the other 29 schools?
Sports.
Yeah. What does it cost to have what we have right now? And
that is a good question. But
then we have the total for that. But then the only difference will be what the athletes get for revenue sharing. Is that the only difference of what you and I are talking about? Because football, basketball could still fund the other 29 sports.
Well, but if you're paying their athletes and it's collectively bargained,
that's where the difference is.
So right now, yes, that money is available for those programs because it's revenue that is left over from football. A good chunk of that revenue, and how much, again, is part of what is to be seen, but a good chunk of that revenue is now going to go to the football players and back into the football programs.
Maybe is that where we're differing on the amount of money you think these kids are going to get? I think $100,000, $125,000 or $120,000 a player. I think 98% of the football players would sign up for that.
We're going to find out
because of where we're at.
I think we're going to find out.
A top guy right now is not making $200,000-$400,000. It's not happening.
Yep.
It's like I said, there's Brett Favre out there, and then there's Joe Schmo out there. Then there's 94 Joe or 80 Joe Schmoes, and there's 5 Brett Favres.
So there's a couple of other components here.
Yeah.
One of the other components is I think it's in California. There's already been a filing, maybe multiple filings, looking for back pay.
Oh, really?
For student athletes, yes. So now, if I don't know what the likelihood. I don't know what the likelihood is here, and I don't know what those numbers would look like. But listen, if there is any money that goes to folks, that, let's say, hey, they graduated within the last 5 years, and you get, again, completely make up the number, $10,000. So that's one component. Another is, so the collective bargaining agreement that I think is inevitably coming here for football and basketball at the very least.
Correct.
And actually, it's coming for all of intercollegiate athletics, but the focus is going to be on football and basketball. So, yes, there's going to be an agreed upon salary for those players with the revenue sharing. But I don't think, and again, I could be wrong here. Maybe you're right. Everybody's going to be like, yeah, $100,000 per player. Man, that's fantastic. $400,000 for playing college football. Sign me up. I'm great with that. And it doesn't matter anything else. I don't think that's going to be the case. I think you are going to also have these players say, hey, we need some additional medical benefits. Now, there are a lot of medical benefits that are included right now in intercollegiate athletics, but some of these guys have individual trainers, and some of them go and get, and I don't know now, this maybe is paid for now, but it's like, hey, I have a massage therapist that just does wonders for me. Excuse me, not part of the athletic department, but I'm going to go use them. And at one time, at least, it came out of your pocket if you were the family or the student athlete. Again, I don't know what all. I know there is a lot covered right now for student athletes, but if you want to get a second opinion on some stuff, it isn't, or at least wasn't. I shouldn't say isn't.
That's
I don't know now.
That's bargaining in the NFL.
Correct. So I don't know. I don't know, and nobody does right now, what additional costs may factor in here. I don't know if it's going to be written into the collective bargaining agreement that, hey, and again, most of these guys, well, I think all Division I football players for sure are getting some gear. But part of the agreement may be, hey, you need to provide, and again, I'm completely make up the numbers. And again, in and of itself, I get none of these are going to be devastating for athletic departments that are raking in, tens of millions of dollars annually. But, and just completely make it up. It's like, hey, you've got to provide me 4 pairs of shoes. You've got to provide me, 5 sweatshirts, 5 T-shirts, whatever it is. But I do think there's going to be some additional medical costs and components going into this. I think there's going to be a mental health component that comes into play. Now, a lot of these schools already have on staff either mental health counselors or psychologists or psychiatrists, but not all of them do. I don't believe. They certainly didn't, 10 years ago. Again, maybe we're getting closer to that now. I doubt that every, maybe football and basketball does. I'm pretty confident not every Division I athletic program has that. So, yes, there's going to be certainly additional costs for the revenue sharing and the salaries that will be paid out to the players. Exactly what that looks like, again, I don't know. You may be right. Maybe the players will be content with maybe the NCAA or the governing conferences come in and say, hey, would you guys be okay with $70,000 a year? And the players are like, yeah, well, that sounds good. We're good with that. We don't know this, but what I'm telling you is the possibility is there. It's like, well, no, all right, you guys are making on average, like you're pocketing above and beyond what you're putting back into the program. Again, $60 million a year. Well, no, we're the reason you're making that $60 million. No, we are not content with 8.5 out of that $60 million when your coaches are taking in, and again, make up the number 15 million of it. So and again, I don't know any of this. I don't know what the collective bargaining is going to look like. Right. But so, we're using 100,000, but it may be 500,000 that's demanded. It may be 50,000 that they're okay with. They may not, the medical situation being the way it is, may be okay for everybody. No, we're good with, we thank you for the trainers and the doctors that you provide. We're good with that. Or it may be, no, you know what? We also want to have an account for if 10 years from now they trace back and it's like, oh yeah, you're having knee problems. And that's a result of your playing career. We need to have a pool available. I don't know. I mean, the NFL has. I will tell you one thing about this. Tact. Yep.
It's just a funny story, but it's the God's honest truth. I was sitting down there with my brother and Steve Entman a couple of years ago at the charity golf tournament you're going to be at in a couple of weeks.
Yep.
And we were talking, and they were talking about health insurance. And I looked at my brother and I said, hey, didn't you strike for that in 1987? And I was sort of made a joke about it. And then Austin, who is, a very, very successful businessman, he said, here's the story. When it comes to unions, they want money now. They don't care about the future. It's just that's the nature of a human being. And that will be that they're not, going forward, the NFL had, about future restitutions and stuff like that and future health care. Yeah, that would save a lot of people. But I don't think it would ever happen. I think the players would just say, no, we want the money now. This is what I was told. If the players want more money now, they're not worried about 20 years from now. That's just the nature of the human being. But yeah, you're bringing up major league points to me right now. And that's where I'm at. That is that like, in my head, I'm just sitting there saying, what is that number? And then that number will rise if they do break away and you don't have 135 schools. We have a television deal with the Big Ten. Okay, it possibly may double because you're going to play 14 to 15 games in my head. You're not playing 10, 11 games anymore. You're not playing 12. You're playing 15 games regular season now. they're going to get the max out of you to make as much money as they possibly can. Does Amazon come in and pay $1 billion for a 5-year contract with those 80 schools? Because that's a lot of money right there. It goes a long friggin' way. So there's so many questions. I mean,
again,
we should have a talk show, Jeff.
The tax component. So, and the schools, part of the collective bargaining may be, hey, we want, again, whether it's a certain money amount or a certain percentage set aside for the non-revenue sports, and it's a tax write-off or whatever. So, again, I'm not making predictions. I'm just saying I don't think it is I think it is far from a certainty that we will have certainly the numbers of non-revenue or Olympic sports that we have right now functioning the way they are. Again, the Ivy Leagues, to start there, like I think, and I don't know this, maybe I'm wrong.
Have
but
a lot of sports, or do they have very particular?
They're more particular.
Okay, so
and
they're not rocking 25 to 30 sports.
So not generally.
Okay.
But so they may again just say, hey, we're Ivy Leagues, we don't need sports programs, we're out. I don't know how many other schools may follow suit. Again, part of this is going to depend on what student athletes are demanding, both with football and basketball, and then with the other non-revenue sports. Again, they're going to be now going presumably also and saying, hey, we need to figure out what is workable for us. And again, it may very well be that, give us, $10 an hour and we're happy as clams. Let's
and every state's different too, by the way.
What's that?
Every state's different too. So
well, yeah, there's going to be some components there that they've got to figure out as well with state laws and all of that. So at the end of the day, just a lot of uncertainty, a lot of different ways that this thing could play out. And while I think there are a lot of people earnestly trying to get their hands around this and figure out, okay, let's get this together and move forward with this proposal and see how it plays out.
Every time you say something or I say something, the other one can bring something else up and be like,
well,
it's a whole. I mean,
and that's what I'm saying. And those discussions, I mean, that's what's happening in the Big Ten SEC meetings right now. Is it's like, okay, we've got to figure out. Yes, football. We've got to figure out basketball. We've got to figure out non-revenue sports, and then we've got to figure out all of these. And listen, this is in an era, right? Some other components that aren't going to get much discussion, but probably should. There is a real lack right now of officials across the board that qualified
umpires, referees, type of stuff.
Yes, okay. All umpires, referees, officials for all of these sports. So keeping and with the money that is there and that people are now aware of, do qualified officials start to say, you know what, I need a little more for my time here and to put up with the abuse from these now well-paid athletes and coaches and fans. And again, there's just a bunch of different components. I mean, it's been talked about whether or not to, get a group of, and again, more so for football and basketball, but like full-time officials. I mean, the NFL, I don't understand or know why the NFL hasn't done that, but even big-time college football, it's like, hey, let's get a pool of whatever, I don't even know how many officials you'd need, 500 or whatever it is, to cover all of the positions in all of the games. But, let's figure out a way to get a pool together, pay them enough that it's clearly worth their while and that we can get good qualified officials in there. And so all of this is, and even part of the problem is they can put a plan together, and then the players get together and say, nope, that's not good enough. Or so that even no matter how well thought out this is and how many different areas are covered with whatever plan they come up with, I mean, it can be shot apart the first time they get together with whatever the player representation is. I mean, there is the potential for that because
universities could be here, they could be here, and they got to meet.
Well, get your head
crazy,
around
man.
this. And this I hadn't even thought about, but I was listening to another discussion is wait until the first time you have a college football strike. The players are like, yep, we're not playing this fall until we get now. I think that's less likely because, again, right now, and who knows, I don't think you can negotiate this, but right now you have 5 years for 4 years of eligibility once we get through the COVID nonsense.
Oh, yeah.
So
one guy want to stay longer.
Yeah, so I don't think, but I mean, it is within the realm of possibility. Like, hey, we haven't come to a collective bargaining agreement where we're setting it out for the year, or at least a portion of it. So again, just a ton of different
top of my head
elements that they are going to have to address.
I don't think the Ivy League even has a television deal.
No, I don't think they do.
So what if they do get a football deal? Then that's money that they didn't have before, type of thing. I know the MAC has just a regular Tuesday, Thursday, ESPN type of deal. I mean, again, when these non-revenue, these non-top tiers, again, you are so right. There's so many different. You could just sit here. We have sat here for the last hour and a half. Even in the Tuesday show talking about it, you could just sit here. I could say this. You could say this. I could say this. You could say this. It's just one problem after another, and I cannot imagine the job that these athletic directors have right now. I mean, if you really think about it, it is just unbelievable. Because now you're going to sit there and I've said it for now 3 years since the NIL has come in. What have you not heard? It begins with title and ends with 9. You're going to start getting into that.
Well, I mean, that's being discussed constantly.
I don't. Do you really think it is?
Oh, yeah.
Do you think that women's basketball is going to sit there and say, well, men's basketball, those players are getting $100,000, $150,000, $1 million each. Why are my girls not getting that? And you're going to sit there and say, well, the revenue's not the same. That's what we're telling you, the non-revenue Olympic sports. Now, are we allowed to say that to female sports? Just say at Penn State, can you sit there and say, well, you don't bring enough money in. You're not going to be part of this.
No.
You're not going to be able to say that, right? Legally.
Correct. Right. Yep. All right, we're going to take a break here. We'll talk some other sports when we come back. It is the Lion Country Kia Goon and Ironhead show.
Coast into fall with a new Kia from Lion Country Kia. Right now, get a 24 Kia Seltos for 5.25% APR for up to 48 months. A new Sportage plug-in hybrid at 0.9% APR. Check out our 23 Sorrento hybrid for as low as 4.5% APR. And don't forget, all 2023 and 2024 Kias come with a 10-year, 100,000-mile limited warranty. Stop in and meet with one of our sales experts today and coast into fall at Lion Country Kia. We want to see you in a Kia.
Since retiring, I have spent my time searching the countryside for the hottest wings in America. I always seem to end up disappointed. You call these hot? Back off, Luigi.
Mamma mia.
Look, handsy busboy. Your wings suck! I knew I should have stuck with Quaker Steak's triple atomic wings. You think I'm tough enough?
The Center Hall Farm Store has been serving Center County and beyond for well over a half century. A small family business, the Center Hall Farm Store specializes in animal nutrition and manufactures its feed fresh using local ingredients. Get the best in horse, cow, pig, chicken, and bird feeds. If you're not already a customer, stop in and see why so many of your neighbors are. The Center Hall Farm Store at 110 West Allison Street in Center Hall, or call us at 814-364-1393.
Sioka Toyota of Williamsport invites you to stop in today or check us out online. We have the smart path to your next Toyota, like the all-new Crown, BZ4X, the all-new Grand Highlander, Corolla Cross Hybrids, Sequoias, and more. Over 100 new Toyotas here and on the way. Don't make a $1,000 mistake. Choose Sioka Toyota of Williamsport and see the Sioka dealership's difference. Buy or reserve yours today and see for yourself why Sioka Toyota is the only stop you need for your next new car. Sioka Toyota, it just feels right.
Ready to be part of something bigger? Come pave the road to success at Glen Baker and discover a career where your hard work and determination can build a bigger, better future. Our team believes we can build a stronger future together. Join us at Glen Baker, where we value teamwork on the field and on the job. Go to GOHcareers.com to apply. GOHcareers.com. And best of luck to all the Center County sports teams all season long from everyone at Glen Baker.
With a Timber Kids savings account, you can start to save money, earn prizes, and teach your kids the value of savings. It's easy as 1, 2, 3. Building futures is what we do at TFCU.
You really need to belong to a credit union. You belong at TFCU, Timberland Federal Credit Union, a credit union you can grow with.
The Goon and Ironhead.
And some good news on the wrestling front. A 79th Division I program will be coming. Mercyhurst out of Erie, PA, is making the move up to Division I for the upcoming season. So that is good news on the wrestling front. Trying to grow those numbers. I really think the NWCA, and maybe it's difficult. Wow, not maybe. It is difficult in this environment to try to make any bold growth moves. But for a while, I've thought that the leadership of the NWCA should set a goal of getting wrestling back up to 100 programs.
I didn't hear you. Who did you say picked one up?
Stuff. Mercyhurst is going to be the next one. By the way, Little Rock had the most recent program to add, had a very good showing at the NCAA Wrestling Championships this past season. Blue-White game is a week from Saturday. Again, the Nittany Lions, all accounts, seem to be making good progress. I do think it seems like the transfers are fitting in very well and really helping this program as you would hope transfers would. I think that it feels like Penn State got some really good players and really good fits for the program at large, and kind of the meshing of personalities has gone exceptionally well to this point.
Did you see Rucci yet?
I have not seen
next to him.
No.
I look up.
Yeah.
And that's not a lie. He was 15 years old. I was looking up at him.
Yeah.
But I played with his dad. I lived with his dad for a semester. He's a Delco guy. So I rode many miles with Todd Rucci going to and from Philadelphia area, get rides at home and back to State College. But Todd and I are very tight. We always have been. He's a great guy. But as kid, man, holy crap. You have just, just hear me out. When you do see him, you're going to be amazed at how big he is. I mean, he's every bit
don't
of
doubt
6'8",
that for a
6'9".
second.
And, I go back to it from the start. I mean, there's a kid right there. Like, he's 2 years out of high school. 2 years. He went to Wisconsin, played 2 years up there, never really got on the field that much, didn't really start in this and that. You know how hard it is for a kid who's 6'9" to learn how to play the game at offensive line? You could be, just hear me out here. I had to learn how to play against guys my size, Jeff. I think about that.
Yeah.
And then this is the problem with our now generation. Now we get, well, this kid's not playing. He's a complete bust. And then the kid loses his mind and he goes nuts and he can't fathom it and stuff like that he's not playing, and people get so mad at him and the pressure builds on him, and it's just like, all right, I'm out of here. So he's 2 years out of high school. He's 20. He's not even 21 years old yet. Like, he literally had to learn how to play the game a whole different way. I mean, he had to do the exact same thing I did.
Yeah.
And that was, I didn't even play offensive line in high school, and here I am playing offensive line in college. So I know he played offensive line in high school. I get it. But What I'm saying is he's 6'9", 300-pound in high school. He just got to get in front of people in high school and throw them around. You're not doing that in college. So he really has to relearn how to play the game. And then if he's starting in his third year so really he would have 3 years starting, that is an exceptional scholarship player. That was when you and I were here, that was the mark of a very successful recruit.
Yeah.
You got 3-year starter out of a guy, that is a highly successful recruit. And if he starts next year for us, he'll have 3 years and he'll be a 3-year starter. That is a successful recruit. They are calling him a bust from Wisconsin, and it just drives me absolutely crazy how much we expected these kids at such young ages. And it's only going to get worse. Paid him a lot of money, Jeff. We paid him a lot of money. He's not earning his money. I mean, wow.
Well,
but I'm happy to see that he's working out. And then what James has been saying about Fleming has been outstanding. I absolutely love to hear what he's saying about Fleming.
Andrew Aller is echoing the sentiments
and
the relationship that they have already forged, and the importance for Drew with him in the room, and across the board. Again, now, if there were problems, do I think the players and the coaches are going to come out and say no? But it's not that they're not saying there's not problems. It's that they are saying it is exceptionally good the way these guys are fitting in. And you don't need to be saying that. So I do think. I do think this spring is going about as well as you could reasonably expect. And, to me, the question really is going to be how well the defensive side adjusts to what Tom Allen brings and vice versa. I talked about this a little bit with Galani too, and since the radio audience isn't hearing it today, it'll be new to them tomorrow. But we were talking a little bit about I think Andy Kotelnicki has complete buy-in on the offense, and right from the get-go, people were excited about the hire, and I mean people across the board. And I think everybody feels like this is an upgrade at the position. I think defensively, you almost feel it's inevitable there's going to be a drop-off. Manny Diaz, it's almost like being the guy that succeeds, not quite to that degree, and I'm not saying Manny Diaz earned in a couple of years Joe Paterno stature, but I'm saying like that guy, personality-wise, schematically, home run across the board. And no matter who it was that replaced him, I think there wasn't going to be – you were going to feel like, I hope he can do something similar to what Manny did, right? No matter who you brought in, I don't think it was anybody was going to be like, oh, man, we're definitely going to be better than we were with Diaz. Now, it's not just Diaz, obviously, but because even if Diaz was back, to expect that this defense is going to be as good as it was a year ago, and I'm not saying it can't be, but I mean, that was an exceptional defense, and you lost a lot of talent to the NFL.
Buddy, I'm not there with you.
No?
I really am not. I mean, I love
You didn't think that was an exceptional defense?
I mean, when Michigan runs the ball 42 straight times, man. I mean, I'm being 100% honest with you.
Yeah. God bless you.
Trust me. I mean, when you have a team, the two teams that didn't show up were the two games that we lose on, which is what our fan base is upset about. And you have Michigan going out there running the ball 33 or 34 straight times without a pass.
Yeah.
That to me is a failure. I'm sorry, but that to me is not a successful defense to me. It's not. I don't know. I don't think they were as dominant as people would think. The pass rush was very nice, very legit, but I will just go back to that Michigan game 2 straight years, not being able to stop that run, knowing it was coming. That's just my opinion. Now, Manny was a fantastic guy. The guys loved him. He was a very nice guy to talk to, personable, this and that. I'm looking forward to Allen coming in here and saying, I hope he went in there and said, that'll never, ever happen again. Ever. It will never happen on my watch. That's where I'm at with that. And Kotelnicki, I think for what he's being paid, I think that he understands that. And like you said, you listen to Drew Aller play and you listen to him talk and stuff like that. He is really bought in, and he's talking about how his competitive edge is back and stuff like that. I love to hear stuff like that because the cockiest guy in your team should be your damn quarterback. And just I always saw Aller as like this little like robot type of thing. And actually hearing him come out of his shell a little bit, i.e. the interview he had the last couple of days, and there was a couple of articles about it, I enjoyed what I was reading about him.
Yeah.
I really did. I think that he's got out of this, like he's coming out of this like he's coming out of his shell a little bit, and I really, really like that because I think the kid's a heck of a player. I just think that I think he gets so churned up and worried about what other people are thinking and has to do this and has to do that. Just play your game, do your game, and roll with it, man. Yeah, but the Manny thing, I liked him. People liked him, but I just go back to that Michigan, 2 straight years in Michigan, and obviously I have a vested interest in that with my friend being kid on Michigan, so I have to hear about this on a constant basis. That there's the Michigan's still running the ball, by the way, and you still haven't stopped the run, and that's very, very true, and very hurtful, very spiteful and hurtful. I didn't like it, but it's always everybody's bringing in.
I will say Tom Allen's not going to give up that kind of rushing yardage to Michigan this year. We do guarantee you that.
Oh, look at you, Ironhead. Look at you throwing jokes out
there. That is
a
guarantee.
Very nice. So, yeah, I mean, it is what it is. I mean, again, I'm not disparaging what the number 1 defense in the country did last year, but I mean, we did have 2 games that we lost last year, and we really couldn't stop them. There we go. Well, 3, because we couldn't stop Ole Miss either. But I think Manny was gone by then, right?
Yeah,
he didn't coach the bowl game, right?
Right.
Okay.
That's interesting. I got to give that one a little more thought. So you think the defense could be better this year?
I do.
Wow.
If we go undefeated, it's a great defense. And
my contention has been,
well.
I think the improvement on offense will more than offset what I think is, I think it's just unquestionable that there will be a decline on defense. I don't think it's going to be precipitous and they're going to fall off the face of the earth, but I think it's virtually impossible for this defense to be as good, let alone better,
really?
than a year ago. When you look at the loss of talent, and then again a new defensive coordinator and new schemes.
I did see this yesterday. I did this to Chris last night, but did you see where Kalen King is projected right now?
Is he down? No, I didn't, but
307.
Yeah.
Something happened.
I didn't see that, but
he went from a first round grade, and he left early, and he is now the 307th ranked guy in the draft. That's unbelievable to think about.
It is.
I know he didn't have a great Senior Bowl. Obviously, he must have had something else must have happened, but that's horrible because it's like, if he knows that now, there's no way he'd be in the NFL draft.
Correct.
And I don't know, he was getting bad information, or he was hurt, or something that happened at the. But it was the first time that his star really stopped shining was at the Senior Bowl.
Well,
or the bowl game
I
too.
think even before that, it was.
Did he play the bowl game?
I think there was. People were saying that this past year was not what they were expecting from him going into the year.
Gotcha.
Now, I don't know that people were talking about, dropping that far down the board, but I mean, it's like, I'm not sure he's a first round pick, maybe not even a second round. I mean, we're hearing some of that even back in December, January, but that is quite a fall to go from maybe not being a first or second round pick to not guaranteed that you're going to be drafted here. And if you are, possibly in the 6th, 7th round type of scenario. So,
there's some of the guys that have been going up and down, because that's the one that jotted my memory was Chop. Look how high he is right now.
Yeah.
Speaking of guys we're going to miss.
Well, and part of it is, I was listening a little bit on the way in today, too. They were talking about the quarterbacks, and like now most projections have J.J. McCarthy going in the top 12, where it was not very long ago. And it's more the position of need and the number of teams that are going to be drafting quarterbacks, presumably early, and you basically have 7 teams in those first 13 picks that it's like, yeah, I could very reasonably see them taking a quarterback, and the Raiders are at 13, and a lot of folks are projecting that they are going to move up to try to get their quarterback. So with Chop Robinson, you had him listed 9th there. Again, part of it is just like on the defensive side that, an edge rusher is the guy, right, that you're looking to be the impact player on your team.
Yeah, so JJ, I said this 2 weeks ago. Does it make more sense to you now that, like, I've never seen a guy since Johnny Football who people either love or they can't stand?
It is amazing that
some people have him out of the first round. Some people, you said he might be a top 12 pick. I've seen him 3rd or 4th. Somebody's like, the Giants love him. The Giants are going to take him.
Supposedly, yes, if they have a chance, and that they may not have a chance according to some
we're going to miss
projections as well. I'm okay with that.
You sure we're going to be in Fort Myers? You sure you'll be all right with that?
Well,
are you sure, Jeff?
I'm going to try to survive.
Jeez,
is what I'm going to try to do.
Yeah. So the JJ McCarthy thing, it just reminds me of Johnny Football, because people were either on that dude big time, like this guy's a generational type talent. He can make plays happen out of nothing, and then other guys were like, this guy's a complete wacko. He's not going to make it. He's not going to make it off the field. He's too small on the field. So that the camps that had loved them and hated them, it's very similar with JJ McCarthy in the groups that some people don't even have him in the first round. Some people are like, he's not that, he's not all this, and some people have him 2nd overall pick. I mean, I know that people like to put smoke out there with their draft picks and stuff. I get it. I understand the game, but that's a weird thing. So the whole reason we went to this because of Chop, and that was because I'm actually jacked up to see Abdul playing D end. I truly, truly am, because there's a guy out there who's just an absolute talent, and he just reminds you of Micah from top to bottom. It's unbelievable. And when you gave Micah, said, you're a defensive end right now, and you just constantly work on your defensive end moves, he could change the game. And I think that Abdul could be that type of player at defensive end.
Yeah, I do think, yes, I'm with you on all of that. I do think, like, it is a different position, and you've got to learn, like, there are definitely some things that he's obviously working on, but that you've got to develop just technique-wise that is very different from linebacker. But yes, from the athleticism standpoint and from it's interesting because I got into another discussion. Actually, I think on the move of Abdul Carter to defensive end is clearly, I think it's going to be a good move for him. I think it is a good move, certainly for the defensive line and helping the edge rush. The debate a little bit is, okay, does his move there help the defensive line more than it hurts the linebacking core? Or does it actually hurt the linebacking core more than it helps the defensive line? There's no way to definitively answer that question now. You got to see how. But one of the things that I do think is interesting is, Penn State has said it. One of the things Tom Allen is doing, which I think is very smart given the talent that they have, is they're going to be playing a lot of 4-2-5, which, again, with this team and with the safeties that they have in particular, right, it makes a ton of sense.
Yep.
And with the biggest question for me with that is if you get, and again, they don't play Michigan this year, so it's not going to be Michigan, and maybe with Michigan not there, and I don't even know that Michigan this year will be what Michigan has been in terms of that run force. But that would be the biggest question to me, is if you get a team that is a pound it, we're going to grind it out, how well does that defense work and hold up over the course of 4 quarters?
Mm-hmm.
But most of the teams now that you're playing, right, are pass oriented or at least pass heavy. I mean, that's just college football these days. And so And I also think, again, you're playing to your strength, which, I mean, the safeties are extraordinary. The depth at that safety spot is extraordinary for Penn State.
Correct.
And it allows you then to, I think, get a couple of different style of linebackers in Rojas and King, Kobe King in there. And King can kind of be your run stuffer, right? As the bigger guy, and Rojas, you're hoping to kind of do a little bit of everything.
That's what I want to talk about. Is the fact that Rojas can step up into that position and make Micah make them decide a position for him is fantastic. See, I look at it like this, and I'm going to sit there and say Abdul's from my high school. You think I've never met Abdul? I don't know anything about Abdul other than he went to my high school. So I think that maybe even having that number out there, wearing the 11, being known as Micah's, LeVar, Micah, all this, so much was being asked of him that he probably got overwhelmed a little bit, because it just seemed like it did happen at times last year where he was out there, you didn't even know he was on the field. And then other times you're like, oh, my God, dude, this guy's unbelievable. This guy's the next one. Where I think that to just define his position and say, you're a defensive end, go play defensive end.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? We're not going to have you with the Mike linebacker, the outside linebacker. Like they do it. Like the first 2 years with Micah Parsons in Dallas, they had him inside linebacker, outside linebacker, rush defensive end, offside, inside. I think they stopped doing that and just said, hey, you know what? You're a defensive end.
Just
go get him.
Yeah.
And I think that's what they try to do, and narrow it down for Abdul and just say, hey, listen, this is your spot. We got guys over here. We're not going to be sitting there saying, well, you're the Mike now, you're an OLB, you're a hero now. Yeah, you're a DN. No, you're just a defensive end. We may have you line up on the inside a little bit if we see a weakness in somebody. But I just think that having him know his position, know his role, and that's another thing about football.
Well,
when people know their roles, it does change the game.
Well, and I think, and the nice thing, like, it does give you some flexibility and the ability to mix things up. Like, you can drop Abdul into coverage from time to time. Sure. And obviously, Penn State has done that with a lot of different defensive ends over the years. But it's obviously a role that Abdul would be comfortable in. So that I think anymore, the name of the game in college football and maybe in athletics in general is the more you can change things up, right, and keep the other team guessing as to what's happening. And again, I'm not saying you're going to drop Abdul in coverage on a regular basis, but you pick your spots here and there. All a Pete Giftopoulos in the Fiesta Bowl. It's like, okay, that'll work out. But I think, right, you have that component, and it's like, we're going to pick our spots here and there and give you, just again, a little different wrinkle to think about, so you don't get too comfortable with the idea of, he's just going to come like a raging bull every time here. So I like that kind of flexibility or variability that Penn State will have with its defense in general, and with Abdul at the
I'm interested because everybody's saying how good of a coach Tom Allen is on defense, and he really hasn't had like star great players at Indiana. He must be looking at these guys and being like, holy crap.
Yeah, I do think his schemes
here, like his schemes are legit, because they played in the Big Ten when they were a little 5 team. That's that kid ourselves. If we're talking about relegation, I think Indiana's not getting the invite to the 70, but because they're in the Big Ten, they will. Whole other conversation.
Yeah,
i.e. an hour and a half ago.
Yeah,
but I think that him having this canvas that he can just print up, and then it has all these different colors, and he has so many more different colors he can draw with, is amazing. I think that he's like, this is great. Let's get after it. Let's go.
I suspect you're right there. And yes, the one thing you hear consistently about Indiana under Allen was that, man, schematically, like, you don't know what's coming with that defense. It was a challenge every time for offenses to prepare. Even if you knew you had the better team, it's like, but we got to account for where these guys are going to be coming in from and how they're going to go about it.
He always coached well against Ohio State. They always had a slugfest with Ohio State. Why? Why did Indiana why did they match up better with Ohio State than us?
Well, again, I do think his defensive schemes had a lot to do with it.
Yeah.
They just did. I think there's going to be a bit of a learning curve there, and but I do think, again, I think there's plenty of talent there, and I think Tom Allen is a very good defensive coach. I don't think Penn State will be as good on that side of the ball, but I don't think it's going to be a big drop off. I don't think it's going to be like they go from first to middle of the pack in the country. I think it's going to be like they slip down a few spots.
Nope.
And
I think the pressure's going to be on other offenses to score, because I think our offense is going to be that much
well,
better.
that's
and then we can lay it out there and blast it.
Well, I think I do think I think Penn State's ability to move the ball more consistently and mix things up offensively. I think Penn State's offense is going to take a huge jump forward. I think Penn State's defense is going to slip back just a little tiny bit. And so the overall net effect should be a much better football team. And, we haven't touched on special teams. I do think, I think the special teams is going to be very good in the upcoming season as well. They've got to
kickers
get the place kicking. Figured out who's doing what there, but everything else, and I think that'll sort itself out. I think they're going to be good there. However it settles out, but you got to get rules defined.
Correct.
There with the kickers themselves and who's doing what. But I think everything else should be in place there for a successful.
Has there been any
season.
talk about what game there's going to be this year? Or are they going to do like we did a couple times? It's just been 2 years ago. They did a short yardage goal line scrimmage. Remember that? It was just a practice.
They Franklin said it'll be regular scrimmage.
Regular scrimmage.
So yeah,
so that's good. And there hasn't been really any injuries, and that they're really worried about type of thing.
Yeah. So and again, I think one of the things we're not really going to learn anything from the blue-white game, not really, but I do think it'll be exciting to see some of these players be out there and show what they have to the degree that they're going to be able to in the blue-white game. I am anxious to see.
I want to see a kid like Rojas, who really hasn't played a full game.
Yes, I want to see Rojas. I want to see Rucci. I want to see Fleming. And again, we're not going to see a lot of what Kotelnicki's overall schemes are going to be, but I think you're going to get a little taste, a little sense of, okay. And I think it's largely going to be, kind of a West Coast style offense where they're going to get the running backs involved with the passing game. I do think the guy who is going to have the season is Tyler Warren. I think his numbers are going to be through the roof in the upcoming season.
Good Richmond boy.
I'm
happy he stayed.
Yeah, we were just talking about that. That's a guy, I think he would have been a third-round pick and probably a high third-round pick. I haven't looked at the needs.
So what do you see? Because I this is crazy because somebody told me the definition of this, and that was when I was playing, you had a third-round pick. What's the ability to move up? What could he move up into?
Well, so that is a good question.
Somebody was if it's not higher than a third, then you go.
Part of it is, part of it is going to be needs of teams. Hard to know, obviously, right now what the season's really going to look like, but I think he is going to be a featured part of this offense. And I think he's going to average 6 or 7 catches a game. I mean, that type of featured player. And so I do think he has a chance to come out as kind of the guy at tight end next year, which means, depending on needs, he could sneak into the first round. But I think
exactly
will
what I'm saying.
Be a high second round pick. I think it'll be worthwhile. As always, this is predicated on don't get injured.
Yeah, we have so many tight ends in the NFL right now. Then we have Theo Johnson going in there. Theo Johnson has a great year next year. Jazicki, the guy in Pittsburgh, what's his name?
Fryermuth, that silly guy.
Whatever. But if those guys, we're going to get to the point where it's like, okay, well, he's a Penn State tight end.
Maybe you're going to get
jump
production.
up an extra round.
Yeah.
I mean, the way we're producing tight ends right now in the NFL is fascinating.
It's
we
impressive.
Used to do linebackers like that. And now we're producing. We used to produce offensive linemen like that too. But it's good to see we make it 3 drafted this year. So.
All right, that's going to wrap things up.
Weekend.
Folks, have a great weekend, and we will be back on Tuesday, and I think we'll be, back on the radio and everything on Tuesday.
Whatever.
Until then, folks, be good and